welcome to this week's Truth, Science, and Spirit. And I have a very special guest that I've wanted to interview for a long time, Mark Steele from the UK. He's an amazing warrior in the field of 5G. He's talked about the metals in the shots and the biological weapons. And I am so excited to talk about all kinds of things today. So welcome, Mark, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So can you explain a little bit, I'm a certified chelation practitioner. I've been pulling metals out of people now for years. And it turns out that in the last, couple of years, there's been a lot more, I believe, sprayed on us via geoengineering because, for example, I never used to see uranium. Now I see it in everyone. And I heard about tungsten from you. Can you explain a little bit the meaning of the metals in these shots that have been found in all childhood vaccines?
If you want to elucidate a biological structure on the battlefield, then either injecting them with nanoparticulates, coating them with nanoparticulates, all is going to help with the radiation emission and a reflection from it. So you're going to be able to elucidate the target. You're going to be able to see the person. Now, some of this technology was developed for battlefield interrogation and also for biometrics, so sensing biometrics. Very important to understand if you've got a number of assets in a battle space to know if they're dead or alive, just like a computer game. So understanding the biometrics, whether they're injured, whether you have to recover them or not, what you definitely don't want to do is lose somebody in a battle space and not recover them if they're still alive. Now, if you monitor the biometrics and they're still alive, you've got two choices. You have to recover them because they're an asset to your adversary. They have intelligence about what you've got in your stores, how many people you have, etc. So they're a major threat and a major asset to your adversary. So you've got two choices. You either have to recover them at great risk or switch them off. If you've got these nanometal antennas, you can cause an atonic seizure and kill them. So that saves you then having to, you can see it from a military perspective. I know it sounds pretty brutal, but what you don't want to do is expose other troops to a risk just to recover an injured soldier on the battlefield. So that's basically where this, the drivers for this technology. Unfortunately, there's a fifth generation warfare plan, and that is to deploy these same technologies that have been developed over many years on the civilian population due to some misinterpretation about the general population being a problem to the environment, which we know is totally false, due to the fact that climate change is caused by ionospheric radiators, geoengineering, and stratospheric aerosol injection, all battlefield interrogation stuff once again. So changing the weather is not too complicated for the defense industry. So the whole myth about global warming, etc., it's a total nonsense, but it's a cover, and it goes back to the Club of Rome. It's a cover for this mass murder event, this mass genocide. So the mass genocide is going to come out the back of some inexplicable ideas about there's too many people in the world and the elites want to get rid of a significant number. I think the number, they're talking about 6 billion. That's not true, by the way. This is a total biological takedown, completely. If you were to kill 5 billion, 6 billion across the planet, believe you me, anybody that would want to do that, they're going to kill the extra 500 million or billion. Yeah, this is just first round. So their plan is to kill a large number. I mean, that's why the intelligence documents in Deagle show 200 million dead in America, 55 million dead in the UK, all Western countries severely attacked, murdered. However, that's only round one. Once that's initiated and goes through, you'll then see round two. The other significant risk, if I was to disable the cooler pools at any nuclear power station. So where you keep spent fuel rods, you've got thousands and thousands of ton of spent fuel in these cooler pools. They have to be maintained 24/7. You can shut down a reactor. What you can't do is stop cooling these spent fuel rods. And if you stop cooling them, and it is so critical, you have a primary, secondary, and emergency pumping system to make sure that the water stays at a temperature so that the rods, the spent fuel rods, don't get overexcited. If they get too excited, they get very warm. If the water was to evaporate, if let's say the whole pumping system went down, and if you kill a large proportion of populations across the world, that's exactly what's going to happen. That'll kill all biological life on the planet. There'll be no chance going down into some bunker and then coming back 1,000 years later, because that radiation is going to be absolutely catastrophic. It'll kill everything. So the whole narrative about, they're going to leave 500 million, I've never went along with that. And why would you? Would the elites, after killing 6 billion of your countrymen, women and children, or family, friends, aunties, uncles, do you think that'd be that stupid to leave 500 million left to actually, because we're talking about numbers of people who are driving us off so infinitesimally small. Would you leave? Well, from a strategic battle plan, you definitely wouldn't. So I'm pretty sure that while leaving 500 million left is a nonsense. It's a total nonsense.
What about about the interbody air network and the IEEE who developed the metaverse, and basically now by injecting everybody that they can develop parallel processing platforms in the brain and mind control anybody. We've shown that the blood is extremely sensitive to 4 hertz, which is HARP. So you can subliminally control anyone. Do you believe in that narrative of actually, changing peoples into zombie or autons like Yuval Harari was talking about?
I've already seen it. I was interviewed by a police officer 2 weeks ago, and I've had quite a lot of contact with the police lately. They've been in my home 3 times in this last month. The first time was about some post that had been posted on the internet. Obviously, all these systems can be hacked into, so they can put anything on there and try and blame anybody for anything. So the first 2 characters came, and one of the police officers, we ended up in a conversation, because obviously I've got super stalkers all over the world, from CIA assets, Brigade 77 assets, etc. I've got agents all over, planted in the freedom movement, etc. Always, making up some sort of narrative to basically just keep their heads down, don't trust anybody, and make sure that they're divided. That's the whole plan. They've got to keep people divided. So that's their purpose. So anyway, the 2 cops come. They're talking about this, one of my super stalkers, and anyway, this guy, he's got several pseudonyms. He's Brigade 77 operative. So anyway, I'm basically having a bit of a laugh with him, and one of them, he said, "Well, how's all this happened?" Quite a sensible chap. So anyway, the whole story, I said, look, government tried to gag us in 2018, sorry, and failed demonstrably in a court where I said 5G, baby killing technology, it'll kill everything. And I've proved, but see, the issue that we've got with 5G, from a technical perspective, it's a weapon. It's not a telecommunications network. It's technically a weapon. It's a directional beamed weapon in air. That's the antenna design and the technical product for 5G. It's not for your phones. So it's a weapon system, and I actually showed that in the court. And obviously, prior to that, I've been saying to people that there's agents within these governments who are planning your murder. They're planning to kill you. I could tell by the technology that had been deployed. So this one cop is talking away, and he's going, I said, well, they're going to kill you. They're going to kill you all. Coppers in particular. I mean, you're surplus to requirements. I said, number one, they've got a massive deficit in public sector pensions. BlackRock, who holds most of those assets, are basically insolvent, and consequently they cannot pay you. So instead of telling you they can't pay you all that money you've put in over the last few years, they're just going to exterminate you. And one of the cops was he was receptive. He was writing everything down. And he was really switched on. And the other one was just a total and absolute drone. And I said to him, "You've had the shot, haven't you?" And he went, "Yeah." I went, "I can tell." And the other guy was saying, "I didn't take it." He said, I wouldn't take it." He said, "They put us under a massive amount of pressure." He says, "No, I wouldn't take it." And I was having a sensible conversation where he was actually taking down notes as I was speaking about this mass murder event. Then I was at the police station because I've got all the primary facie evidence of this mass murder, and I've now got a body count that they're trying extremely difficult to cover up. All these people dropping down dead all over the place, and lots more people. I mean, extra in the UK alone, there's an extra 3,750 people becoming sick. So sick they can't work. That's every week. That's 15,000 per month. It's enough to bankrupt the country. Well, that's the whole point, bankrupting the country, run by these globalists. Now, we've got to be mindful. These sickness, ill health, and deaths today are just collateral damage. They're not the real kill. The real kill will come with a surgical weapon. The surgical 5G weapon is interconnected with the nanometamaterials in the shots, the graphite ferrous oxide antennas, the localized emission. It allows me to elucidate the victim in the battle space, the same as what the trials for the equipment that was used actually on a battle space, where if you lose a man and his biometrics are still, flickering, where he's an asset to your enemy, you can fire a signal at him, causing a tonic seizure and stop his heart, kill him. So that's exactly what's in all these COVID-19 vaccines. They're all a mix and match. I think AstraZeneca was a little bit blatant, obviously directly from the CCP lab, bioweapons lab, and that was a bit blatant. That killed an awful lot of people a little bit too early. See, the whole purpose of this, they made a massive mistake when they did the injections. They were supposed to aspirate the syringe. They were told they had to aspirate the syringe, so then you had a stable antenna in the deltoid. The problem that they had, they were training lots and lots of people because there was this mass rollout. Lots of people weren't very well trained, and they were injecting people and they didn't get the stable antenna. So you had these nanoparticulates washing around the whole body, causing myocarditis, pericarditis, stroke, all of the symptoms and illness. They're just collateral damage. Once they get everyone with a stable antenna, they can monitor them. I mean, this was all planned network-centric warfare. So where you've got commercial off-the-shelf technologies, what we call COTS. So you've got COTS, so smart meters, smartphones, smart fridges, smart TVs, all have nodes specifically connected to and for the weaponization of the 5G wireless body area network, because the defense industry were working with manufacturers, obviously producing chips and all the rest of it, and designing chips with backdoors and capability in those chips for what they're planning is this mass murder event. Problem they've got, there's a lot of people didn't get the shot. The issue they have with that, see, I'll go back to the spiritual warfare aspect of this. They have to have tacit agreement. Satan's gathering souls. And if you're a burnt offering, then taking a soul that hasn't offered itself up willingly actually goes against the plan. So you have to get people to tacitly agree. So yes, they can kill people, but that would then go against the plan. The plan's to harvest souls that have actually went along with the agenda.
And so, a lot of doctors, they totally deny what I'm finding in people's blood, because the polymers that are made out of different hydrogels, they have definitely self-spread, because now, and practitioners around the world have confirmed this. I see this in everyone. I see this in the unvaccinated as well. The only difference between vaccinated and unvaccinated blood is the sensitivity to 4 Hertz to HARP. But my concern is, what I've been endeavoring to do is at least pull the metals out, because it's the metals that start the polymerization process for the hydrogels, and to give electricity back to the body, like through vitamin C and methylene blue and things like that. But the fact is that people are in denial of this, and they think, I'm a total nut job in terms of the medical community, And yet you, as a weapons expert, you totally see what is going on. I mean, even though they've been telling us, they're going to have nanorobots in the blood to control people. And I've definitely seen the mind control aspect as well of it. What do you think about the whole polymer aspect of it? Is it totally related with the metals? And what about tungsten? Explain about that, because I see that in everybody too.
Well, tungsten was, we found tungsten in the flu shots. So we'll have to go back a little bit earlier. What actually happened, I was given an intelligence document to basically, show there was this mass murderous event. So I was always on the lookout for the potentiality of, what weapons, because there's a raft, there's an arsenal. There's an arsenal of electronic weapons, whether it be autonomous cars. I mean, electric cars are just dirty bombs. They're autonomous dirty bombs. That's what they are. They're bringing them to your streets. So there's lots and lots of weaponry. So I was trying to work out what the strategic plan was, because if you understand that strategic plan, you can then defend yourself from it. So in South Korea, they switched on, they tested 5G at the Olympics, and they were shooting a wild boar in the jungle. That was confirmation that it was a directional weapon system, because they also the other aspect of it, they have to tell you, and your acquiescence to it is your tacit agreement to die. So they were testing it, and you test all types of munitions, hand grenades, bullets, etc. You test them on porcine models, or actual porcine, because they do exhibit very similar aspects to a body if it's been shot or blew up or other. So they tested the weapon on the porcine in South Korea. And South Korea was very advanced and also has a very advanced electrical grid, because the newer cities. When they went operational with 5G in South Korea, they set fire to 5 cities. They burnt them to the ground. So it was this massive problem. It was April 2019. Switch on. They have a very advanced electrical grid. So consequently, they had a problem. So I'm working out, well, if they've got a problem with switching 5G on in South Korea, it's going to be catastrophic across the rest of the world due to older grid, bare earths, and some of the older electrical critical infrastructure. So I'm thinking, well, how do you do the cull? And so the radar was up looking for how they were going to increase the radiation, and came across this contamination in flu shots, which was tungsten. Tungsten was the main contaminant. There's no pharmacological reason for tungsten to be in a vaccine. So the flu vaccines were being contaminated with nanometamaterials, and tungsten was the main ingredient. Now, I know that tungsten, very, very helpful for vibrational purposes, reflection purposes. I can basically light you up. I can literally light you up. It increases the radiation toxicity significantly. I mean, massively. So consequently, I'm thinking, right, so that's the initiator of 5G was this switch on a 5G, and we saw that in northern Italy, in Bergamo, in that area. It's northeast of Milan. So there's that part of the area. There was a massive amount of people who got sick and died from these breathing difficulties, pneumonia type, pulmonary edema, basically altitude sickness, radiation pollution. So that was Europe, and where they'd already tested the equipment in China, Wuhan, switched it on. You could see they were shooting people in the street, but they also had this large increase in ill health, pneumonia, flu type symptoms, all electromagnetic radiation connected, all part of the plan to terrorize the world. It was all pre-planned, terrorize the world, get them locked down, get more 5G up, and then offer them the poison injection, which then would increase the radiation, but also the track, trace, termination technology that they could terrorize the population to get them to take that poison. Once they had them, it was a problem. Now, I think the big issue that they had, the flu vaccines didn't work as well as what they expected. The Nightingale hospitals are set up in the United Kingdom were never used because the murder rate didn't pan out. And that's why Matt Hancock took old people from hospitals, took them into nursing homes and killed them with midazolam and morphine to mimic what they expected from the flu vaccines. The flu vaccines didn't work very well. Now, why that is, these technologies are tested through the military. And the problem that you've got, the military cannot be trusted in the development of weapon systems because, unfortunately, they're corrupt to the core. I know from a number of different weapons developments where basically they'll overstate the capability of a weapon significantly. So you could have something like the F-35 fighter jet, the fifth generation. I always laugh when I talk about the F-35. The F-35, the helmet and the because I know quite a bit about helmet and helmet design, because obviously I've done quite a few, as well as weapon sight systems. The weapon sight system's that big and that bulky inside the helmet. If I was to eject the pilot, the helmet will just take his head off. So there's no point ejecting him out of the plane. So it would be a death trap. So the F-35, and what happens, you get these multi-billion-pound projects, and everybody involved in the best thing to do is just keep their mouth shut, whatever you do. And we had it with Zircon satellite project here in the United Kingdom. I worked on a target acquisition, a laser targeting torpedo system. I've worked on a number of different projects that would tell you that they'll see anything. Well, obviously these zombie apocalypse type events, these super soldier type events, what was the actual outcomes of those projects? Because it looks like the contamination in the flu shots didn't do the job. Well, it didn't do the job. That's why the Nightingale hospitals, and their expectation that it was going to be mass deaths, which would have terrified the larger proportion of the population, so a significantly higher number would have went and took the COVID-19 shot, and it didn't happen. So we've got the global extermination plan failing in tatters, and they're in a panic now. So they're going to try and bring back this World Health Organization legislation so they can basically inject you with a bioweapon. I can't see it going very well. I can see it all falling to pieces, but people understanding what we're talking about, I have to remember, the government tried to gag me in 2018 because I was telling people that 5G was a baby-killing technology. They failed. Their excuse was they had to gag me because people believed me and I was a conspiracy theorist. Well, I know what a conspiracy is. I know exactly what a theory is. So consequently, there is a theory backed up by scientific fact. There is absolutely a conspiracy, and the governments, these global elitists, are absolutely, without any shadow of a doubt, planning mass murder. And how they do that, 5G is the key. It's interconnected with your ultra low emission zone guns. So your LiDAR, these urban radar, LiDAR type traffic calming, low emission zone type weapons, 15-minute city, it's a kill box. So you've got a 15-minute city kill box. That's what they're planning. They want to rein everybody off the land, so they'll flood the lands, they'll destroy the crops. They can use ionospheric radiators for that, or they can just flood you out. The weather weapons programs, very well advanced. The defence industry got full control of the weather by 2025. So they've got full control. So what's global warming all about? It's a total nonsense, and it's all there, all propaganda, so that they can get you into a 15-minute city because they're planning an extermination. The nanoparticulate contaminants, lots of different types. There's quite a few. I've looked at some of the electron microscope images. I knew prior to that vaccine being deployed or having electron microscope images of the constituent parts, the spectrum analysis of the constituent parts, well prior before that, I already knew that was what the plan was. For some inexplicable reason, I just had an understanding that to increase the radiation toxicity, having a body full of nanoparticulates was the way to achieve that, and that's exactly what we've now found in these COVID-19 vaccines. So they've got all sorts of different poisons in, SV40, sort of cancer promoters, taking down people's TD8 cells, so they get these turbo cancers. It's all part of the plan. So it is a bioweapon. I'm going to suggest to everybody, unfortunately, if you have been victim of this major psychological warfare crime, there is an antidote. You can mitigate it. You can get rid of those heavy metals. And think about this. It hasn't worked. So they're basically hanging. Now they're going to come. They're not going to give up. I don't want to hear people say they haven't won. They're going to try their best. They've got nothing to lose. Like we've got nothing to lose. They've got absolutely zero to lose, because their loss, like our loss, is catastrophic beyond anyone's imagination. And remember, they've got all the money, they've got all the contacts, they've got all the pull. The only difference we have, we are the many, and they are the very, very, very few.
What are you thinking? What are your thoughts about CERN? And you know about the spiritual warfare aspect, opening different portals to dimensions. And I believe that this technology is actually an antenna into the demonic realm, into other dimension. I've talked with people like MK Ultra survivor Kathy O'Brien, who was talking about in their satanic rituals that they're actually bringing these demonic entities through. And so if you want to create zombies, you have to, again, have an antenna. The graphene itself can cause plasmons, but if you lower the vibratory rate, you can create demons. So I've talked about a lot that the battlefield is the human soul, because once they take over your mind, you're losing your soul as well, because they can, if you no longer have free will and you're being manipulated by that aspect. I think that this law is on, this war is on many different levels, but I think what you were saying is if you say no from your own spirit, that also has power to it. And what are your thoughts on this whole dimension of warfare and interdimensional warfare via CERN?
What I'm going to say, there's a massive weak point to all of this. The weapons they bring against us are electromagnetic in particular, and those electromagnetic radiation weapons require power. There's a power. It's a pinch point. It's a sore point, because let's say they did activate the PCR test. The PCR test had carbon nanotubes in the hydrogel. They've been embedded in the brain, and there's a neural link that can be activated. The pulse modulator, 450, it has to be 450 nanometers, has to be point light source, has to go down the optic nerve, and it will release the neural link in the carbon nanotube so that they can then control the brain for this potential zombie apocalypse type narrative. And the reason for that is, if we had a zombie apocalypse, then it would facilitate the US military to turn its weapons on a civilian population, because the if currently the rules of engagement, they can't do that. But if everybody turns zombie, they can definitely do that. probably one of the reasons why they want all of these kill switches on, these geofence technologies in your vehicle, so you can't get out of a cityscape. So if they activated a number of these zombies and you had them walking around, and then they could then justify bombing an area, you're in a vehicle, you can't get out because obviously it's got a geofence technology, so they switch it off. You cannot run any zombies over, so that's going to take all the fun out of that. I mean, I was looking forward to that part, get these zombies where you can run them over with your truck. Well, if it's geofence technology that's going to switch off, and then you're going to have people coming through your window, I'm not happy. I'm not happy about that. So I'm now looking for a very old motor vehicle, right? So at least I can get around. And also the fact that they can pull an EMP, they could fire an electromagnetic radiation pulse. They have all the potentiality. Like I said, the 5G arsenal is really large. It covers any smart technology, all part of smart grid, then your electric vehicles, the whole thing's all part of the strategic. And this is why, and this is how we know and I can identify the spiritual aspect. These idiots who are in charge of a lot of these organizations, they couldn't even comprehend what we're having a conversation about. The comprehension's not there. So they've got this attack is spiritual. You can tell because of its sophistication. It would, what do you think Bill Gates has got the brains to go, I'm going to build these dirty bombs, these EV vehicles that are going to be autonomously driven up to a target and then exploded using a directional beam from a 5G mast? Of course he can't. He's not that. But the demonic forces within him, that's who's driving it. And these demonic forces are in all of these individuals. They have allowed them in, so they're already here. What's possibly going to happen with CERN? Well, we'll just see on Monday. We'll see tomorrow. I'll be in a police station doing an interview, so I'll be all right, I think. So we'll see what happens. I mean, yeah, I've seen these people and they are demonically possessed. The people can be and are demonically possessed. And unfortunately, I wouldn't like to be them because most of them, it's quite surprising how many of these so-called elite types have took these shots, whether they're hoping to be uploaded into a cloud space or terrified to go to, to die and go to hell. They may have actually taken on board this whole, we'll just upload you into a cloud space. Well, if we switch the electric off, switch the power off, you've got no hard drive kicking around. That's them gone. I mean, can you imagine getting yourself uploaded into one of these three-dimensional sort of game things, right? So you've got your whole neurological thing working on in some hard drive, having a fantastic time, having a party, and then some character goes and switches the power supply off, and that's it. You're gone. There's no coming back. And this is what's going to happen. These people aren't going to come back. This is the ascension. This has all been written in scripture. It's all been written in scripture, and it's like, as you said before, Anna, they're not hiding it. It's in all the scientific published peer-reviewed papers. And I believe that we have a massive, massive opportunity here. Because of the technicalities of the hardware that are bringing to deploy across cityscapes, for instance, the multi-photon, multi-fusion, ionizing radiation guns, where you've got these so-called, ENPR cameras, the ones that, recognize the number plates on vehicles, right? So you've got these massive weapons they're building out and bringing them and putting them on top of traffic lights in cityscapes. It's a weapon. So we've actually got the evidence of that being a weapon. The local governance are saying it's an ENPR camera. It can only recognize your number plate. That's absolute. I mean, I've seen the phaser technology on them is absolutely off the scale. I mean, the ones in London, each one, the phased, the LED, the bright LED element has actually got a 4.3 watts capacitor attached to the phase, and there's four. So you've got four 4.3 watts emitters. Now, if I set those LEDs off, I start phasing them, and I create a constructive interference pattern. So I've got a beam at a target. I can kill, people have been known to be killed with 4.2 watts beam. So I've got four capacitors, each with a capability of 4.3. So you've got these four capacitors, you can go pop, pop, pop. I mean, you could kill, unless somebody switches the electric off. Well, fortunately, the Blade Runners in London, they're not just cutting the electric off, they're slicing directly through the columns, and the whole thing's collapsing in the street. And you see, you have a defense in law. These are weapon systems. And unfortunately, if somebody puts a weapon system out and they're planning to kill you, then it's extremely illegal. The infrared weapons are interconnected with the upconverting nanoparticulates, the coatings that were actually in some of the materials that we're seeing in the spectrum analysis. So you've got gadolinium. Yeah, there's a number of lanthanide type materials, and they're going to be used. They've actually coated the nanoparticulates to cause this upconversion from infrared. That's a really interesting thing. You know, the picture you had of the girl with her face where it was, it's turned a bit orangey. That looks like upconverting nanoparticulates that have created that effect.
We've been seeing more and more in that, because now, you know, I look at people with a 365 nanometer UV light, and I can see it in people that are unvaxxed who have been exposed to extreme shedding as well. It's interesting because I've worked a lot with EDTA chelation and pulling the metals out, and actually some of the tattoo goes away. So that's very just good news. I wanted to ask you, you know, every computer, I had a former intelligence officer help me a little bit with cybersecurity because I'm kind of a target. And so he was explaining to me that, for example, my laptop had 5 cameras, and that they use infrared LiDAR, and that they are undisclosed, but they can still affect you through the retina. So, you know, he helped me identify all of that. And this is why you're using the glasses, but you know, he had all of that covered, and you know, I got rid of my smartphone. But can you just explain that our devices are actually weapon system, and that we could actually be affected just via light through our retina?
Like, the network-centric warfare plan was to access what we call COTS, so commercial off-the-shelf technologies. So whether it be street lighting, whether it be smart meters, smart TV, smart fridge, all of that smart equipment has battlefield enabled technology, what I call smart, secret militarized armaments and residential technology. So residential technologies have been battlefield enabled, weaponized, and it's all part, people can go and look into network centric warfare, and nodes. So all of these nodes have the potential to do harm. Obviously, if you've been vaccinated, I shouldn't say a vaccine, if you've had the bioweapon injection, I think we need to stop, you know, give it its real name. If you've had a bioweapon injected into you, you most certainly have got a significantly higher risk. I mean, I was talking to a guy just yesterday who's had a vaccine shot, he's had some health problems, and he went to see a practitioner. He only wears a smartwatch. And I said, you know, you're not really helping yourself. That smartwatch it's an access point. It's monitoring your biometrics. Not only is it monitoring your biometrics, it could make you sick. It can basically target the nanoparticulates that you took in the shot. and the bioweapon. You took a bioweapon, unfortunately, you got hoodwinked into it. You took a bioweapon, that bioweapon potentially can be activated. I mean, the nanoparticulates, these lipid nanoparticles, right? If they have the pathogen, the SV40 pathogen that the CIA developed in the 60s, inside the nanoparticle, you can burst them open with certain frequencies. So you basically got all this crap running around you. That's why it's really important to, look to chelatins, start to eat better. Well, try the best to eat better. It can be pretty difficult to drink clean water and eat good food because they're poisoning the water, the air, they're poisoning everything they possibly can. But just think about how resilient we are. When, yes, we also, this is really important as well, these characters have been trying to kill us for years. If you remember, TVs. So your old television, you've got a cathode ray tube, you've got a lovely leaded glass screen to reduce the ionizing radiation emission from the cathode ray tube. Yeah. However, you are sitting in a room getting blasted off a TV, and people started living longer. What's going on? What's going on there? Well, the difference is, you see, we speak the source. Source upgrades the source code, your DNA, right? So you become resilient, a bit like rats. When rats get poisoned, and then all of a sudden they build up a resilience to the rat poison. It's the very similar type of upgrade that we get. And these demons have been trying to kill us for lots and lots of years, and we're proliferating across the world as our creator said that we had to. So we've got this large proliferation, and they've decided to double down and go, right, we need to get rid of them now, right? But let's just see how thick they really are, right? Because what they've sold us a pig called global warming, and it's a nonsense. And anybody that believes it, unfortunately, you're going along with a pharaoh, you're going along with a satanic agenda. The whole plan's satanic. Consequently, and it's anti-God, right? It's anti-God, it's anti-creator. It's totally satanic. If you believe it, unfortunately, you're opening the door to these demons. And once you start opening the door, they start to come in. The next minute, you'll start believing anything. You'll start taking, you believe anything that these people tell you. And unfortunately, doing as you're told today by these satanic cult members will get you dead. It's as simple as that. You will not survive what they have planned for you, because they're planning your extermination. And I think it's not going very well for them at all. I think things are starting to fall down around their ears, but that makes them even more dangerous. That makes them more dangerous. See, we've just heard that Iran have attacked Israel. They've attacked Tel Aviv. So get your hard hat on. Get ready for World War III, because they need a major distraction. They need a major distraction. I mean, the whole Gaza, the Gaza, absolutely horrific what's happening in Israel. It's absolutely horrific what's happening in Palestine. However, it's a distraction. They've already sterilized all the Jews. They've already genocided the vast body of the Jewish population, right? And obviously the attack on Palestine's a cover because nobody's having any more children in Israel. So what they're going to do, they'll blame the war. I mean, it does mess with the epidemiological data. I mean, we were starting to see epidemiological data coming out of Israel that was catastrophic. And then all of a sudden, we've got a war going on, and nobody's concerned about it anymore. That epidemiological data would have buried these cult members. So they then create a war. That's still not going very well with them. So now we've got Iran attacking Tel Aviv, and we've got all the trouble going on in Russia. So get ready for the Third World War. I mean, it's all bets off. Let's see what happens on Monday. It might be a bit of a damn squib. And I say that because it looks like everything they're doing's not doing very well. So yes, they may have a plan to bring in these demonic forces, right? But I'm getting, my confidence is rising all the time. I feel more empowered, more confident. If I was concerned in any way, shape, or form, and I want to say this to everybody because it's the most important thing, we manifest our reality. We are God's creation. We create this world. It is our manifestation of it. So when we start to have a laugh at the expense of these cult members and make a joke of them, because people, I'll say some horrific things. I know them to be true, and they'll think, well, why is he laughing and carrying on? Because I know we win. And this is just a script. It's like the best horror film you've ever. I mean, imagine being invited. Not that I'd want to go to Hollywood because it's pretty demonic, but let's say you were invited to a fantastic film, yeah, and it's really, it's like some of the dreams that we have. I mean, I had a fantastic dream last night. I mean, it was blood and guts. It was absolutely crazy, but I really enjoyed it. I woke up this morning. I thought, where did all that come from? Well, that's where this comes from. We are in one of the greatest films you'll ever be, and it's absolutely historic. And why wouldn't you want to be here? And even though you might sometimes get a bit stressed, just break yourself out of it. Enjoy the moment, right? Be positive. Absolutely must be positive. It's so important. It's so crucial. It's so crucial to win this. We've got to manifest our victory over evil. That's it. So we're just, and there's enough. That's why they want us dead. The cult member have to kill us because they know they lose. They knew after Stargate and Looking Glass, those predictive future analysis tools that they had. They know that the satanic realm's over, as it says in the scripture, and consequently, the only way they can hold on to it is to exterminate our manifestation by actually destroying the soul, destroying the body. So they're going to stop the manifestation. It's not working. So we just manifest it even more. So manifest our reality. We have a victory over evil. We haven't got a choice anyway, because what happened, right? I mean, how could you even contemplate, even want to live in a world which is controlled by these pedophile, child murdering, blood sucking, child torturing scum? I mean, so yeah, we're going to win. Yeah, we're going to win. We're going to have a massive victory, but we have to manifest that, and we all have to be involved. It's not just me. It's not just you, Anna. Everybody that listens to this, they all have a role. We all have a task. We're all here for a reason. So always remember that, and always be positive when you're prosecuting the advance against the adversary, because that's what Satan is. Satan is an adversary. So we are just prosecuting bringing our light to their darkness. That's the most important thing out of all of this.
That's fantastic. I absolutely agree with it. And I think that sitting backwards and doing nothing in this opportunity of the most historic time. I mean, this is Armageddon. I mean, it doesn't get any more crazy than this. So I totally agree. And I think, learning, we have a brilliant mind, that can learn and evolve, and we can understand these things. We can download from the mind of God solutions that will help everyone, and then ultimately create a world that is fantastic. We will be able to heal nature, to clean up, the pollution and all of these kinds of things. I have that same dream and absolute knowingness. I mean, I don't have faith. I have the knowingness. It is
Exactly.
this way, it is this way, and nothing can shake this. People can do whatever the heck they want to me. I don't care. My spirit is immortal. You cannot kill me. You can whatever. So anyways, I totally agree with you. And then can you just say a little bit about Save UK, your website, and what's going on right now, and how can people support you in your work?
Well, it all came about quite interestingly enough. Right, I was not really into the religion thing, Bible, not really. It wasn't one of my things, and it came about by chance. I was speaking at a conference in London about the 450 nanometers frequency, these LED light emitters. And I had a scientist from France contact me, and he asked me the question, he said, Mark, why are you saying 450 nanometers? And I said, well, it's in there somewhere. And he went, you do know it's 666 terahertz. So I'm like, eh? It's kind of big. So anyway, does a bit of a calculation, sent it back. Anyway, it was 668. Mistakenly, I'd done the calculation was wrong, and it was 66 terahertz. So that was the first red flag, right? So I had a red flag there, and then I knew I was heading into trouble because I had the government, I had the coppers at my door. I was arrested several times, and I knew in law, having political cover, right, is enshrined in international law. So what we did was set up a political party called Save Us Now. The anagram is Sun. Well, so SUN. So anyway, this girl contacts me in 2019 and says, who's this Sun? So I went, well, we just thought Save Us Now. Sun is actually mentioned in the Bible. It's biblical. It's in Malachi 4. Now, there's a lot more things have happened. I mean, I could talk for about an hour on this particular subject. And that then encouraged me to think a little bit more. The other element, this lady said to me, you have to read the Bible and you've got to read Isaiah 61. And I'm like, yeah. I didn't have a Bible. I said, well, I can't read it because I haven't got a Bible. So anyway, she said, well, you need to read it. Anyway, it was March 2019, and I was heading to Bradford on Avon to do a talk on 5G. Gets into this chapel, and I said to the chap, where do you want me to stand? He said, there's 3 places you can stand here. He said, and that lectern there's the best one. And it was a big gold lectern with a, gets up there, hand-painted, leather-bound, ancient Bible. And it's open on the page, Isaiah 61. I understand about quantum mechanics and about simulation hypothesis, one of my favorite subjects. So I'm like, shit. So the panic set in. I'm not frightened of anything. I'm telling you now, I was shaking, and I lived physically, like, totally as if somebody hit us with a lightning bolt. And then I started reading the Bible. I got a Bible from that, and I started reading the Bible. And that then was a fantastic support tool because I realized we win. Yeah, and everything from there just fell out. After that, there was lots and lots of things happened, but that was my my experience in the spiritual world, and then I started looking at the whole, the spirituality, and then once you start to see the signs, and I was seeing these, I was getting attacked a lot on the internet, mainly by satanic forces, people who unfortunately had allowed demons to possess them. And it was quite obvious they were demonically possessed. So I was getting attacked a lot. It was all satanic, it was all demonic. All started making a lot of sense at the finish. And then I realized I was just a messenger. I was giving these messages out. And it was inexplicable, all of the experience that I had in relation to nanoparticulates. I mean, I'd worked at one of the large oil and gas companies in research in a science position. I was a patent writer, so I used to gather data. I would interrogate scientific work and research work to actually tease out and pull out intellectual property, because that's the real value. Having some intellectual property that can then, keep other competitors out of the game for long enough so you can get a return on your cash. So I was very, very proficient in patent writing, and bringing sort of teasing out technologies out of research work. Some people might not see it. I'd see something and go, oh, hang on a minute, that we could fit that into this or fit on that. And one of the things that we were researching was nanoparticulates for coating pipelines. So I was involved in all that. And what was really inexplicable, one of the first commercial carbon nanotube manufacturers in the world was Stevens Chemicals, and it was only 2 miles away from my office. So I was actually in their office talking about carbon nanotubes, and this really early on. So the whole graphite, which was a total nonsense, by the way, the whole graphite narrative, the single atomic layer, that unfortunately I've never seen one yet. I've seen graphite. I've not seen any graphene. I'm still waiting to see some. Well, you wouldn't be able to see graphene because only a single atomic layer.
That's what I've been saying. It's like you can't call this graphene. This
it's
is
not graphene.
gel.
They keep calling it graphene. It's not graphene. You cannot see it. You can't see graphene. No, in fact, I think they call it reduced graphene, and that came about because the government are massively funding these graphite type experiments, carbon nanotubes, buckyballs, all those things that exist. And then this graphene thing came along where the guys got a Nobel Prize. They put a bit of sellotape on a graphite block, tore it off and went, that's graphene. Well, I could see it, so I knew it couldn't be graphene because it's a single atomic layer. You wouldn't be able to see it. So I'm thinking, hang on a minute, what's going on here? Well, I went to Manchester. One of my friends was actually in a commercial position in that university where they were spinning out the tech. The Chinese were all over it like a rash. And the British government, it was the British taxpayer who was funding it. I did a report on nanoparticulates. There was a major conference in Newcastle. It was one of the first major international conferences in a hotel in the city where I live. So I actually went to basically to scope out the potential, massive potential in nanoparticles. I mean, massive. Coatings, hardness on bearings and all this sort of stuff. But there's an issue. And I knew there was an issue due to the high explosive and exposure to soldiers on the battlefield from high explosives. And those high explosives create nanoparticles. And those nanoparticles have been shown to cause cancer in the body of troops. So consequently, my first question, because obviously I was there representing a very large oil and gas company who protect their brand, and safety is the main. We do have mistakes, we admit that, but safety is a crucial factor. And I was actually at this conference and I asked the question, who's done any biological studies on carbon nanotubes, buckyballs, all these other derivatives of nanoparticulates, titanium and all the rest of it? And I said, who's done you're bringing technology to the market and you're developing it to go into the market, and nobody carried out any studies in relation to its effects, its detrimental effects, which I already knew about because of high explosives on the general population. And all the scientists who were actually at that event, who I was actually asking the question to, they said none, just like 5G. There isn't any studies on how safe it is. The reason for that, it's a weapon system. And exactly the same as the nanoparticulates that they're bringing to market, are weapon systems. And it's all part of an attack on the environment. And isn't it strange how you've got, your Greenpeace, all these different organizations, right, environmental groups, and they're all missing it, every single one controlled to the max. So we have this, we've got this Save Us Now movement. I think it's pretty biblical. I didn't know that at the time, by the way. I do now. So I think we're shining a light into the darkness, and that's the most important thing. Speak truth, shine light, dispel this darkness from this world. And I'm absolutely 100% positive we are making massive progress as more and more people come to the realization that these people who've been driving these technologies against us are doing it for extremely nefarious reasons. And unfortunately, we've got quite a long way to go. We've got to go to 2030 And I think they're already they're failing in that goal, and that's probably one of the reasons why they are dangerous, and this is why they might just have to pull this Third World War thing.
Wow. Well, thank you for that update. Oh my God, you just blew everybody's mind. Yeah. Thank you very, very much for your time and for all of your work. And, you've put yourself into such a situation and you just haven't given up in fighting. So, on behalf of humanity, thank you so much, because there's a lot of people who are fast asleep and will not do anything. And then we have Goliath like you who pull, the work of hundreds of people. So, thank you, Mark, and thank you for talking to me.
Thanks, Anna, and thanks for having me.
Hello, my name is Dr. Anna Maria Michalczak. I am an internal medicine physician with a PhD in pathology and 20 years of clinical experience. I've written a book that's called Light Medicine, A New Paradigm, The Science of Light, Spirit, and Longevity. I have explained to the world a new model of medicine in which we understand that we are biophotonic beings of light, and that if we address this model in our approach to health, that we can significantly help people. I am also the founder of the company True Blue Medical that creates beautiful blue light wellness wraps that are utilizing this principle. What's been shown is that blue light in itself has significant healing properties. For example, it increases the production of nitric oxide in the skin, which will increase the blood flow to certain areas. It's been studied that nitric oxide can stimulate the endorphin receptors, so this can also help with pain relief in a very natural form. And you have to understand that blue light has been used in optogenetics to control all aspects of the cell cycle. So we can restore, in a way, health that the regular scientific model hasn't quite thought about. So unlike infrared lights, blue light does not generate heat. And our skin absorbs biophotons and can store these as energy for healing purposes. What we have found with our beautiful wraps is that our customers have wonderful improvements in their well-being.
I slipped on the wet hose, rolled over my ankle, and broke it. But in my mind, it was a sprain. And so I went in and I wrapped my ankle. I walked on a broken ankle for 9 days. And I think the only reason I could do that is that wrap kept the swelling down and accelerated healing in a way nothing else I've tried has done.
I had a very painful hernia problem about a month ago. Dr. Anna recommended trying the True Blue Light Wrap. I wore it for 3 days and nights, 24/7, and the pain dwindled away completely. Since then, I've used the Blue Light Wrap on my back for back pain, and I've used it for headaches and migraines.
I damaged my knee, but I had a definite noticeable improvement immediately using the True Blue Wrap. It helped directly with the pain, the swelling, and it also improved range of motion starting the first night. I know that healing this type of an injury can take months to happen, even with medical intervention, but with the True Blue Medical Wrap, I saw daily improvement.
At 71 years old, my life is full of adventures. Sometimes accidents happen during those adventures, and now I seem to have made myself arthritic. I got my blue light wrap pretty fast, and I wear it most of the time. It works. And I love those little blue lights.
Thank you for watching this episode of Truth, Science, and Spirit with Dr. Anna Michalczak. If you would like to learn more about my research, you can find it on my Substack, and that is Anna Michalczak, MD, PhD.substack.com. If you would like to find out more about my book that has won 3 different awards in the category of alternative medicine, called Light Medicine, A New Paradigm, The Science of Light, Spirit, and Longevity. You can find that at arthemasophiapublishing.com. If you're interested in the True Blue Medical Blue Light Wellness Wraps, of which I am the founder, you can find this at truebluemedical.com. Also, if you are interested in becoming a patient or in the Goliath laser, you can contact AM Medical LLC, my clinic, and the website is ammedicalmd.com. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time.